Always takes a few clicks to get everything going here. Someone was complaining that it takes me a few minutes to get started on the live stream, but that's the way the live stream is. So yeah, if you don't like that, then don't watch a live stream. So live stream is not like a prepared video where every second counts. You know, we're dealing with the environment of even setting it up. So we are now live on both Rumble and YouTube, and I can see both here. So if you're talking on Rumble, I can see it. I can see many comments already on YouTube. And as usual, the standard scheduling or plan or format for the live stream is I talk for 30 minutes about the given topic, and then after that is free for all. It's Q&A. We'll discuss whatever you guys want to talk about. I won't be paying much attention to the comments until we get to the second segment, which is an hour. So the people who say the video is too long, it gets cut off at 30 minutes. If you don't want to proceed past 30 minutes, then don't do so. Yeah, so you don't need to complain about it. Okay, that's the setup required here for discussing a live stream that I have to say every time. And believe me, some people will leave comments again saying the live stream is too long. Welcome, my friends. Welcome here on YouTube. I see the usual suspects here. Oh Dear Plays, member Oh Dear Plays, member Great Gold. So I'm paying attention to the members over there. And that's a membership on YouTube. I have something on Rumble that's going to be starting. And howdy, entire Meyer. On Rumble, I'll be starting locals. So it's going to be robbraxman.locals.com. And it'll be a subscription to support the channel on locals. So instead of using, Patreon or anything else, you can also support the channel on local. So that's coming up. It's already set up, but I haven't promoted it yet. So just so you know, that's going to come. And in the second segment, I'm going to talk about the Brax 2 phone again and the Good Phone Foundation and all that, because some of you may have missed that on the first round. So we'll discuss it again in the second segment. Now, the topic for tonight has to do with the question raised by my last video. So on my last video, I told you that the problem is that the platforms, Google, Facebook primarily, are the ones who push this. I think Apple is more of a surveillance company, whereas Google and Facebook are more of a control company. They don't want to just surveil you. They want to actually target you. So the targeting problem is this. If you're using a standard normie phone, as I said in my last video, if you're using a standard normie phone, then what's happening is that phone is actually being tracked. I showed you that there's an actual map of people with cohorts. Now, of course, the map has, areas that are like big dots that can cover a small town, but obviously the real map is pinpointed to every house location using the triangulation methods they have. They can triangulate you within about 6 feet. So the actual location known to Google about each and every one with a Google ID is approximately up to 6 feet, and maybe even sharper resolution than that. So as I showed you, and I showed this also on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, if you're not following me on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter, Rob Braxman Tech. And I showed that segment, just that video. I mean, just the map, the Google map of cohorts, and I just picked an example map that I found that was a specific topic, and I just went to the map for that, and I didn't really try it any more than that. And I just went to a little town in Texas, and it actually was able to actually show what people are clicking on in that small town in Texas and how they get classified under one of those categories. So the problem is, if you don't do anything, you're going to get tracked and you're going to get put into a cohort, which is obviously very dangerous. So, do you want to be in a cohort that identifies a particular belief? Now, some of you will say, well, it doesn't matter because you're liberal and Google likes you because you're liberal, so you don't have to worry about that. That may be true. That may be true. However, don't assume that Google's agenda is your agenda. I mean, as an example, why would Google, for example, allow topics like privacy to come in? If I were Google, I'd like blast topics like privacy out and not have it have so much influence. It's one of the reasons like I have such a limited reach. I can't really reach people because it's the intent of the algorithm to minimize topics like this, because it doesn't have to be some political topic. It could be something as simple as mass surveillance, privacy, and so on. Because if I push a topic that says they're controlling you, you're not going to like that. So you're not going to buy their phones. So why allow that kind of topic? So that could be a suppressed topic. That's an example where it's non-political, because the subject of privacy is really non-political. Now, the point is, if I'm telling you that the solution is very simple, just dump your phone. Dump your normie phone, and then everything disappears. 90% of the tracking occurs on your normie phone. 90%. That's a pretty big chunk. And some people are actually complaining to me, why am I pushing my Brax 2 phone here? Why do I even talk about the Google phones? I don't believe your channel because you're pushing your phone. It's like, it's not you. Okay? I'm telling you right now that based on my analysis of this, there is no way out. You're going to use a standard normie phone with a Google ID and Apple ID, which also has a Google ID, because you can't disconnect Google from that phone. The average person is going to use Gmail, going to use YouTube and all that. You can't do that on the Google phone. You can't run YouTube, you can't run Gmail, you can't run any of that. Since 90% of the people have Gmail, they're likely going to put it on the phone, so therefore the phone will have a Google ID and Apple ID. So, yeah, so there's no escape there, and you're going to say, well, if there's no escape, then what's the point of doing this? Why do I need to do anything? Because I can't escape this. I'm going to be tracked by Google anyway, so I guess I might as well do nothing. And this is what I'm going to try to explain today, that this is not the answer. You see, Google trying to track you is not a one-way street. It's not a matter of just saying, we're tracking these individuals because they believe X. Okay, so, let's pick a topic. Let's say you're, what's a good benign topic? Let's say you're a parent and you're concerned about the education in your school district, and maybe you don't like what's being taught about sexuality in the school district, which is pretty normal parent kind of thing. That Google's going to classify you as anti-woke because of that. So you're going to be in an anti-woke group. And that classification will be there, and yet all you care about is your kids and what they're being taught, and you're concerned about what is being taught to your kids, because you as a parent should have, normally you would expect that you have control over what your kids are being taught, but apparently nowadays that's not allowed. You're not allowed to have control over what's being taught. So in order for Google, Facebook, these parties to have any influence on you, they have to be able to reach out to you. Well, what happens is, if you have a Google ID and you went on Gmail and you went on YouTube and you made comments and you went on platforms to track you like Facebook, and then you later on say, well, I can't go delete all that. They already know what I think. I'm already on the map. Well, guys, if you stop using that account, and let's say you stop using that account for a year now, okay, how is Google going to reach you? Because the point is, they're not just tracking you for the sake of tracking you. They want to sell you an idea, either advertising a product. That's how they make money. They have to reach back to you. Okay, so what happens if you disappear? then all the information they collected about you is no longer useful, because the only way that they can influence you is if you are still on YouTube, still on Google with your same Zucking ID tracked by the Zucking phone. Thank you, John Smith. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So can you run on my hardware? No, but you can run on Pixels, which I also sell. We can install it for you as well. All you have to do is ask us and we can install it. We install LunarOS by default, but we can install anything you want as long as it's supported. Anyway, my point is that yes, it's bad that Google tracked you and so on, but once you disconnect from the identity, the data becomes stale, because if they can't reach out to you, it doesn't become useful for advertising purposes. If they say that the phone is active and inactive, if the phone is inactive because you got rid of the phone, if the account is inactive because you changed your Google ID as well as changing the phone, and you did the browser isolation strategy that I talk about in so many videos, well, what happens? That means Google thinks you disappeared. Well, for example, Google sees me. I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube account, but I don't have a Google phone that they can track. I have a Google phone because they require me to have one, but it's always off. They can't even track any activity on it because I don't use it. So it's off. I don't even need to put it in a Faraday bag because Google Pixels do not have that feature. Pixels, I think, what am I using right now? I'm using a Samsung as my my Google phone, which is off. So it's always off. Okay. So because it's always off, there's no data. So it doesn't have any data to emit. And so Google can't identify me per se with what I'm doing on the internet, because all they can see is whatever I put on YouTube. Well, what I put on YouTube is in a segregated browser isolated zone on my activities. I have Chrome dedicated to YouTube and Google. I don't do anything that is not YouTube or Google on that browser. Nothing. I don't have a phone associated with it. My 2FA is a completely different phone number, so they can't even associate that with contacts. There's no identity to derive other than what's in my YouTube channel. So whatever I do in my YouTube channel, I know Google's watching that. So I'm sure to click on stuff that I want them to see. So, so that's the active presence. So they can pump ads to me that is related to what they know about me. And so I'm watching the ads and making sure the ads conform to what I think they should think of me. If the ads some sort of change, for example, if the ads become political in some way and if become biased towards one side or the other, that's going to be a warning to me that something is wrong. Or if products get promoted to me on Google that came from some activity that's not connected to the phone or not connected to anything else, they pick from another browser, then I'm going to get worried. So far, I haven't seen evidence of that because I've done browser isolation and I really do not exist on a phone. So my phone appears to Google as an unknown phone. It's just, it has something called a, what do you call that? I forget the term. But anyway, they go look at the identity of the phone, and it's just it's a generic Android phone as far as they're concerned. So because it's a generic Android phone, they can't track IMEI, they can't track any of that. They can't do telemetry, they can't do any of that. And so they can't feed back to me and say, we're tracking you, we know what you're thinking, we know what you want to buy, we know what you want to think, we know how you want to vote, and so we're going to influence you back. Well, they can't. They can't. So all I can see is kind of a balanced view. Well, of course, they will push whatever they want to push to the overall population. But I get a more balanced view than most because they don't know what I'm thinking. So yes, it's valuable to do it, even if you have old data. Yes, the data will be there, but the data will become stale because they'll say they can't reach you. If you stop using that account, they can't reach you. Now, some of you can't really stop using an account because you're using, let's say, Gmail, which is really a bad idea. Really bad idea. You know, what you should use Gmail for, and I encourage you to use Gmail, but use it for junk. Use it for logins to apps. Use it for something useless. Use it for junk mail. Don't actually have important conversations. Don't subscribe to political stuff and send it to Gmail, for goodness sakes. Because that's like tracking you on the phone. Why would you do that? So, you don't understand the effect of this. If Google knows and Facebook knows about you, they're going to feed you information. They're going to pound you every day. And in subtle ways, you're going to think a certain way. It's subtle, but remember their target. They only have to convince 1% of you. They can flip an election with 1%. Okay? So they're just going to push, whatever narrative they want as far as an influence thing. And it could be anything, even as simple as not allowing an anti-Google thing to show up. It could be that simple. It doesn't have to be political at all. It's just whatever it benefits them. So let's say that, well, fortunately, Twitter doesn't have that kind of influence now, but, obviously, this is not a mystery. Some of you are like so political that you fail to see the importance of anyone manipulating your data. I mean, you say, well, it got my side elected, and therefore I don't have to worry about it. The fact that anyone can manipulate anything should be a worry to all, because, we should all have an even discussion about things. It should be a balanced discussion, and we vote fairly, not unfairly, with undue influence and undue control, which happens with something like what was happening on Twitter and what's going on Google. Google obviously is trying to influence you. I've shown you the project. I've shown you the video that nobody watches. Because of course it's suppressed. Google did not feed my video to the general population of YouTube users. So I have 44,000 views in that video. That 44,000 views came solely from my subscribers, which is a good number, but it was not fed outside because they know it's one of these restricted topics. It is a restricted topic for them. When it's a restricted topic, they do not feed it outside of your subscriber base. So that is the routine. That is the routine. You can minimize, you can amplify something, and you can de-amplify something. And they de-amplify what I say because it's against them. So if you want that kind of influence, then so much for freedom. So much for freedom. If that's I guess we don't have it. We already know we don't have it, and some of you are so. Not you guys, not the people in this channel, but those who don't watch me are so dumb. Really, it borders on stupidity. When I'm telling you you're being influenced, and they're saying no, it's not possible. You can't influence me. Sucking idiots. All they have to do is influence 1% of you. 1%, and you can flip politics with 1%. My goodness. I mean, come on. Use your sucking heads. It's a pretty serious matter here. When somebody externally manipulates data so they can influence everything from elections to opinions to what the amplified topic is, and you think that's fair. You think that's fair. Now, some of you are saying, well, it's pushing the right stuff. We want to push all of our views because obviously at the moment, Google's feeding you, views from the left. Well, today, what is apparent to you are those views from the left, but not everything is. Not all of the ideas have to do with politics. They have to do with other things. And you're not going to know the difference because you're going to be so influenced, you're not going to know the difference. Again, they can amplify any topic de-amplify any topic, make any politician favored, make everyone disfavored here on the internet. And they can do that without your knowledge or control, and you actually will not know if there's a lie. I saw, multiple things on Twitter today of politicians lying, obvious lies. As long as nobody challenges that, who the duck is going to argue that that's true? There's some claims made today that's already been disproven, and people are still talking about it. This is both on the left and the right. And if you amplify one and de-amplify another, then the end result is the one that's amplified will appear as true, even if it's not, just because you see it so often. And then people just say, well, that's true. It's been repeated so many times, so it's got to be true. And so is there a benefit to disappearing from Google, even though you have past data? And in conclusion, the answer is an obvious yes, because if they can't reach you because you're not using that account, of course you can delete whatever you want to delete on Gmail. You can delete your Gmail stuff. You can transfer to another email account. You can transfer it on Brax Mail if you want. All you have to do is drag the folder to Brax Mail, and all of your email will have transferred to Brax Mail. And then you can go delete Gmail and or at least empty it out. They won't let you delete it, but you can at least empty it out, and then then they won't have any more data. And that's that makes you even more unreachable. If you're not reachable and they can't send you junk mail to influence you, because they can influence you by junk mail just like they can influence you on Google search or any other method they care to use. So the moment you cut out a way for them to identify you, and obviously your Google ID is your Gmail account, the way you once you disassociate an active identity from what you do, then common sense, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is they will consider the data stale. They will consider the account stale. They won't be able to pump any kind of advertising. Therefore, you're not that useful. If they can't influence you, they can't advertise to you, you're not useful. So therefore, they'll put it aside because they're not going to be sending you ads when you're not active. Okay? Then you set up a new Google ID, a brand new one, and then you use the controlled measures of using a browser isolation and using the Google phone. And now you set the rules. You tell Google what you want it to see. So if you're, let's say you're saying, I'm going to do opposite day. I'm going to do opposite. At least I'm going to be clicking on things that are opposite what I normally click on. I will not reveal my political whatever by using browser isolation, so that what Google sees on the account that you have active is very limited. Then they can't influence you either. So therefore, if they try to influence you, the influence will be wrong, because they will think you belong to a particular side which you don't belong to. Therefore, it won't work. Okay, it's some basic stuff. It won't work. It won't work if the target is not the correct target, because the only way to convince you or attack you is through target marketing, folks. Target marketing. So if they can't target you, then the marketing ends and the marketing is useless. So the only way to get a benefit out of this is if target marketing works. That's why it can't work on me, because I'm using browser isolation. They don't know what I am. They don't know what my target is. They don't know what to tell me. So they're going to give me generic ads that don't have any specificity. Often they'll just give me ads based on location, because they know I'm in LA. You can't not have that known. Actually, they don't know where I am. They think I'm in Fremont next to Tesla, because that's my VPN That's my VPN address. So they're confused. They think I'm going between Fremont and LA. And they think some of you are related to me because many of you also use the Fremont area for the VPN. So many of us are on there, and many of us may have the same IP address, so they're confused as well because your data, whoever is using Fremont, because let's say I'm on Fremont, then we're all our data are shared. So whatever you do is being associated with me, which means they have false information as well. They don't know what to do with that. So that, my friends, is the value of that. There is value in getting rid of Google, even at this, even now, even when you think you've already been tracked. Now, I don't say the same thing about Facebook. Now, with Facebook, you got to be more active because Facebook has all your relatives in there. Facebook, you got to zucking delete. You got Zuckbook. You got to Zuckbook. Zuckbook, you just got to delete. There's nothing else you got to do. You have to delete Zuckbook. Guys, Zuckbook is no longer, it's no longer cool. If you want to look old, stay on Zuckbook. Okay, otherwise, stay away from Zuckbook. Okay, there's too much data on Zuckbook. So, yeah, get rid of that. Dump that. There's nothing positive you could possibly get there. Transfer your peeps to something else. Okay? Now, is Twitter bad? Twitter's actually not bad. It's never been bad. The reason Twitter has never been bad is because Twitter doesn't really know anything. I mean, they don't really know much about you other than what you provide. All Twitter knows about me is, the address of the VPN and the email. My two-factor authentication is Google Voice. So I'm not sure what they can get from that. Obviously, they see me from my posts, but Twitter is not really a tracking system. I don't really worry about Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter all you want. Twitter is actually okay. It's not that kind of platform. So now that I know that I'm not being overly influenced by nefarious sides as much as it was before, then I'm gonna say Twitter is okay. So yeah, so follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna stay on Twitter. I know some of you are, you don't like Elon Musk, so you're not gonna go to Twitter. But as far as social media is concerned, I'm okay with Twitter. So anyway, thank you for watching this segment, and then we're going to switch off to the discussion here, the Q&A section. Before I do that, let me talk to you about my sponsor. My sponsor is Linode, or now Akamai Linode. So Linode is actually Akamai now. But nothing has changed. There's been aside from accounting changed on Linode. Aside from the accounting side, nothing has really changed. They operate exactly the same way. I'm very pleased with them still. Everything is still good. And they offer you, if you say linode.com/Rob Braxman, they're going to give you a $100 credit, which you can apply for up to 2 months. So what do you need Linode for? If you're a young person wanting to learn how to control Linux servers, heck, invest $5 a month. You're going to get yourself a lot of education just installing and uninstalling servers of various types, Linux servers on Linode for $5. If you need a website, you want a WordPress server, for example, you can go to Linode and you can set it up as cheaply as $5. If you want to set up more complex systems for your office, they have powerful servers that I found to be much cheaper than what you find on AWS, GoDaddy, or any of those options. Plus, their support is much, much better. So you have better support and cheaper price. So I would recommend Linode, and I got to make a comment about Linode after this in a second, but it's kind of a related topic here. So I don't have a problem with Linode whatsoever. So it's recommended. Okay, let me go into the Q&A section now. So this is officially the breaking point. If you don't want to stay past this, watch my shorter videos, and we'll move on. So Linode is continues to be my sponsor and will continue to sponsor me through 2023. So yeah, that's it's been a mutually beneficial agreement, because I really like Linode. So I don't support anybody else. As you know, I have very limited sponsorships. In recent time, in the last year, I've only had 2 sponsors aside from myself. I sponsor myself. Other than that, I just have 2. And one of you made this comment. This is really important, guys. I'll talk about LunarOS a little later, Art. But let me just talk about this, because this is, we're getting into the realm of kind of being extreme here. And some of you are attacking me for this. And it's very disturbing analysis of the world, and it's quite unfair, actually, and it's unfair for many, not just me. But people have said, a specific person who's likely going to watch this live stream, a specific person accused me of supporting entities that I shouldn't support. Okay, and I'm accused of supporting, tell you the reach here. I'm accused of supporting Vanguard and BlackRock. Okay, let that sink in a moment here. I'm supposedly supporting BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, that's pretty crazy on multiple fronts. First of all, what possible connection do I have with BlackRock or Vanguard? I don't see them buy my products. I don't see them making comments about me. And I'm not even a speck of dirt in their sites. Why would they even waste any energy on anything that has to do with me? Obviously, I have nothing to do with Vanguard and BlackRock. Zero. This association was made. Let me just make sure you understand this. The association was made because Akamai, which is a public company, obviously Linode was not a public company, it was a private company. So Linode is my sponsor. Now, I don't have any other interest in Linode other than the fact that they're my sponsor. I happen to use Linode products. That's the connection. Linode is my sponsor. I don't have any influence on the sponsor. They want me to sponsor them, and I'm happy to have a sponsor it's a product I also use. So it's a win-win. I don't have a problem with their product. I use their servers, and I'd rather use Linode than Amazon AWS. I have Amazon AWS still, but I would say the majority of my activity is on Linode. So Amazon is obviously a public company, probably also something to think about. But as you know, BlackRock and Vanguard pretty much, controls the stock market. BlackRock and Vanguard has all of your retirement funds. So if you work for any company and you have a retirement fund, chances are those retirement funds will put some of them in Vanguard, some of them in BlackRock. That means every retiree, every person working today will probably have some money in BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, it is not our fault as if you're building a retirement fund that you put your money into a retirement fund and it's invested by BlackRock and Vanguard, because obviously your point is to make money on your investment. You don't have any other goal than that. However, BlackRock and Vanguard, using your money, not their money, your money, has decided that they're going to be political activists. They're going to go to Apple and demand that Apple censor Twitter. They're going to demand, that oil companies stop drilling. I mean, stupid stuff that actually you wonder, what does that have to do with making money? So we already know that some of these, people who control BlackRock and Vanguard are doing, things that completely inappropriate because, one, it has nothing to do with making money. And secondly, it's not their money. It's your money. I'm sure just looking at all the people here on chat here that many of you have money in Vanguard and BlackRock without knowing it. I don't know if I do or not. I haven't checked. There's a possibility that I have Vanguard and BlackRock and some retirement fund. I don't know. I don't check to that detail. But yeah, it's possible. Now, I didn't authorize BlackRock and Vanguard to be political activists. But they're using your money and they're trying to control social media and everything else by trying to influence what happens in the world because they're using your money. And they threaten, Apple and Google and Amazon and Akamai to perhaps they do. They have the capability to control pretty much every company that's a public company because practically every public company will have some investment by BlackRock and Vanguard. Having said this, what the fuck does that have to do with me, for example? What does that even have to do with Akamai? Has any one of those companies said, you got to change policy on Linode, you're going to have to go censor whatever? Now, if I saw that and they actually implemented that, we need to discuss it. But absent an actual action, Vanguard and BlackRock invest probably in every single public company. How can you actually make such a connection to say, I'm not going to associate with Rob Braxman because he's a supporter or he's affiliated with BlackRock and Vanguard? I mean, that is such a zucking reach. I don't even know what to say. That is such a reach. My goodness. I don't know anyone from BlackRock or Vanguard, and I don't see any activity related to my realm here that of things that I support that is affected. Certainly, Brax 2 funds are not affected by BlackRock and Vanguard. Apple could be affected by BlackRock and Vanguard if they want to ban Twitter. Yeah, that could be. In which case, dump Apple. But do you really have control? You ought to think about maybe dumping Vanguard and BlackRock. And that's really the issue here. You're not making your own choices, and if somebody's using your money, like BlackRock, Larry Fink at BlackRock, somebody's using your money and using it to influence us, then that's not much different from Apple and Google trying to influence us through active social media manipulation as they do today. Because if BlackRock can say you should censor, Twitter or censor whatever, I don't know how you find that acceptable. That's not acceptable. So go attack Vanguard and BlackRock by saying, pull your money out of there. That's how you make a point. But, most of you will not do that, and most of you will not care, and you will leave your stuff. I'm going to start looking at my own stuff and see what they're really investing in. If I have Vanguard and BlackRock, and I have to examine, if that is appropriate, because your purpose in putting it into any kind of investment vehicle is to make money. It's to make money. Okay, if it doesn't make money for you, then obviously you take it out. But if you're using your money in a way that supports whatever they support that you do not support, then you may need to vote by taking your money out. Again, something to think about. So just yeah, so that's just food for thought here. Do you think using electronic records in medicine was a mistake? Should we return to paper charts? Counter Moon, you know, I'm one of the inventors of electronic medical records or electronic or healthcare systems. You know, that's what I did for a long time. I'm one of the inventors of that, one of the first inventors, and the intent was pretty good. The intent was pretty good with electronic health records. What happened was the government stepped in. The government, meaning really, it started during Obama's time. During Obama's time, a bunch of bureaucrats were put into place, and they attached it to some benefits for doctors to use electronic health records, or they're going to cut their Medicare payments. So they were forced to do the it's called the High Tech Act, and then as part of that, the health record systems were subjected to certification, just like you certify with the FDA. So there's a health systems. So my system had to be certified, and you spend about $1 million a year to get it certified. And really crazy stuff, because basically the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. then dictated what should be in the system. And that's when they start dictating things like centralized health information exchanges and basically spying on your healthcare. And that is part of this that was, put in place when the government stepped in and said, we're going to regulate health record systems. And it's kind of a microcosm of the whole privacy problem, because I already saw that. So right now, your health records are in fact centralized. Anybody in healthcare may have access to records of anybody in healthcare through the Health Information Exchange. And your healthcare medical record system, your healthcare record system, is feeding that Health Information Exchange with data, and some of that data is in real time. And in fact, that's one of my projects. I did that. So I'm telling you that's reality, because I myself built some of those systems many years back. So it's been a while. I haven't, I've been involved anymore, except I was maintaining some clients who were doing this transfer with my system. Yeah, so it's not a good thing that government stepped in and started manipulating it. So what we expected the medical record system to be was to use it for research in a proper way, and it's not that way anymore. It's basically centralized medical records, centralized government, centralized. Okay, so is that what you want to do with your social media data? Well, I've seen it happen now in medical records. So, this is no different. So that's a concern that I have, and it kind of, I told you this before. I believe, was that a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, where I explained my background, and I said to you why privacy is triggered me early on, many years back, because I was already seeing this in the way medical records was being handled, and some people were actually supportive of that. Some people wanted control, and and when I saw the kind of control that was happening, where you can't even have a private discussion between you and your doctor. It's got to go to the centralized system. So whatever you discuss with your doctor, it gets recorded and gets sent as part of your social history, and gets recorded on a government database. Which, by the way, a government contractor like Palantir can get access to. Yeah. So you wonder what social history is. Well, I'm going to tell you. Social history includes sexual habits, drug habits, household situations, uh, you know, things that you may not want the world to see, sexually related infections and things like that. HIV, this, that. It's all centralized, guys. By the way, that the reason for the HIPAA law in the U.S. to keep the medical records private was because of HIV or AIDS. So they wanted to set up a rule so that people, don't have to reveal anything like that, because, it was going to hurt a specific population, right? Well, they still did it anyway. They just put it in a central database, which lots of people have access to. So, yeah. I mean, in theory, you're not supposed to, have access to that. But the reality is a central database already has access to it. So, yeah, there you go. There's privacy as an example and how it's used in healthcare. So just so you know, in case you're wondering, if what I'm talking about makes sense, I have, real stuff to look at. I know how it's already worked in healthcare. What do you think of Starlink? I have Starlink. I have not done a review of Starlink, and the reason is I haven't had time to put it in a better location yet, because there's some physical things I got to do. So right now it's in a balcony, and it can point to the sky, but sometimes the signal's not good, and I'm wondering if it has to point to a different part of the sky, and if it changes direction, then at night the signal is more spotty. I can't blame that on Starlink yet. But in my experience, at nighttime, when it's busy, I guess, the Starlink is not consistent, and especially with upload. So I can't really do a live stream on Starlink. I found that the upload is very slow. My upload at night is sometimes as low as 2.5 megabits, which is really super slow. I mean, the normal upload is 10 megabit, and I don't even get that. I don't even get close to that. So many people use, Starlink for just download, watching videos and all that, and can't tell right now. I need to spend more time to do it, to analyze it. My DSL connection is more steady. So I'm not going to recommend that Starlink is going to be perfect for you. However, for me, I can, I want to test it, so I did it. I still have my DSL. I still have, so I have multiple sources of internet, and that's fine with me. That's for testing, it's okay. Is it nighttime or sunset? Is it nighttime or sunset? What are you talking about? I'm having a problem at, I guess, at night when people are watching videos, probably, or movies. So that's, which is likely, in the evening, after dinner and so on. So, thank you, David. I am a subscriber, non-paid, and thank you for answering my question. Okay. That was your question. Okay. Even though it's not paid, I just saw that. Your thoughts on Chat GPT? I do not have any thoughts yet on that. I mean, I saw the fact that they had a million users or something. I don't know anything about it, so yeah. Obviously, I'm very careful with stuff like that. I don't, unless there's something specific for privacy, I'm not going to go push anything of that nature. Okay, so yeah, so nothing more to say on that. How long do you think it will take for ISPs to cut the cord on DSL? I don't know why you would think that they want to cut the cord, because the faster service is going to come from fiber. If anything, they want to develop the infrastructure to put fiber, just like they do in some countries like Korea, where service is very fast because everyone is on fiber. So very interesting thing, by the way, just kind of outside thoughts here, but just so you know this. In Korea, the local internet, the LAN speed or access within Korea uses fiber. So their infrastructure, they invested in their infrastructure, and so it's very fast internet if you're going to Korean websites. However, if you set up a Linode, I've tested this. If you set up a Linode in Seoul, Korea, first of all, it's super. I don't know if they have a Linode there, but I use some other ISP. I may not have been a Linode, but if you use a Korean ISP and then go to a server in the US, it is very slow, very slow. So unfortunately, the fiber is only they don't have enough fiber going across the Pacific towards the US. So yeah, very slow. Just interesting. So some countries have very, very expensive internet. Japan is very expensive too. So a lot of the stuff in even like Singapore, it's expensive. I have a server in Japan and in Singapore, but they're typically more expensive places for servers. Just so you know. What are your thoughts on site like Piped and Knitter? I do not know anything about that. Okay, what's your problem, Starlight? Why do I need water? I had adult beverages, but okay. Medicare, Medicaid are government systems. This is a comment on Rumble. The problem, by the way, with the HITECH Act, which intended to manipulate medical record systems to be centralized and centrally controlled by the HHS, could only have been done because the insurance market, 70% of the health insurance in the U.S. is actually not private. I don't know if many of you know this, because you hear that let's make health insurance public, as some politicians push. Like Hillary Clinton was pushing that. Let's make healthcare systems private. Public, meaning everyone gets insurance from the government. I don't know if you know this, but 70% of the insurance is Medicare, Medi-Cal, and such. Okay, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicare. So all of those are controlled by, and then Railroad, and there's some more, specialty ones. The point is they're all controlled by the government. So 70% of the healthcare payments come from the government. So the government can actually dictate. They can dictate the prices. They can dictate what people do. The only thing they can't dictate is, what a plastic surgeon can charge. Anything that's, not health related. If it's, optional, procedure, dermatology, stuff like that, then they accept cash. But otherwise, it's mostly Medicare, Medicaid. That's 70%. That's all government. So the government actually controls pretty much the healthcare industry. The only people that are not covered are typically younger people, but the poor people are covered by Medicaid and Medi-Cal here in California, and the older people are covered by Medicare. So they're just that window of working people who are not destitute, and they're the ones that have the private insurance. Well, they're only 30% of the cost of healthcare, because obviously the cost of healthcare comes from sicker people, and the sicker people are typically the older people. Okay, so that's why they own 70% of the. It doesn't mean 70% of the population. It means 70% of the healthcare expense is paid for by the government. 70% of healthcare expense. 30% is covered by private. Okay, so in case you don't know this, this is a fact. Because I was in that field. I know how much money is made. I see the collections. I see the billings. Okay, typical billing is 70% to government, and the only exception is if your specialty is such that you take cash, like I said, plastic surgery and dermatology. Okay, we only have internet through T-Mobile data, and T-Mobile, what are our options with privacy? We only have internet through T-Mobile data. Use a VPN. There's nothing to worry about with a carrier. You use a VPN and they don't have any visibility anymore. That's it. You don't really have to worry about carriers. Use a VPN and they can't see anything. Okay, so yeah, I mean it's not complicated. A carrier is not much of a threat anymore, and they're easily wiped out as a threat with a VPN. Okay, so when you have a VPN, the ISP can no longer have visibility on what you do. It's really that simple. Okay, so yeah, use VPN and you don't have to worry about whether it's T-Mobile or Spectrum or whatever it is. I don't need to worry about that. I run a VPN router at my house. And yeah, I don't have to worry about that. You have get through still? What? I don't know what that means. What? That's why it takes forever at the ER. They call your insurance first. Yeah, I'm not on that. I don't have that experience. How do you use a VPN? How do you use a VPN? You install the software on your device, and you download your preferred profile, and you connect to that server, and that's it. You put your username and password, off you go. So my VPN uses a software called OpenVPN. So you download OpenVPN software, you go to the website, download the profiles, which specify the region you want to be in. So, I don't know where you are, Peter Lang, but, let's say you're in Texas. And so you probably would want a server closer to you normally for normal use. You may want alternate servers if you want to hide your location. But normally you'd pick a server closer to you, so you say, okay, let me select from the profiles, and you pick one that you want, let's say Dallas. So you pick the Dallas profile and you download it, and then you select it, and then you put in your username and password, and that's it. There's an example video doing that on the Brax 2 phone setup. So, but yeah, when you use a VPN, it wipes out the threat from the ISP. However, it doesn't wipe out the threat from the phone. The phone doesn't care that you're on a VPN or not if your phone is logged into Zucking Google. Okay? There's a difference. If you're using a standard phone, the phone is connected with your Google ID and Apple ID, so it doesn't matter that you're on a VPN or not. They know it's you because of this, and this thing tracks your location 24/7. I don't know if you understand that, what I said in the last video. Your phone knows your location. So you can hide your VPN, your IP address and all that. And what point is that when Apple and Google know where the phone is? You're going to say, well, I went to location permissions and turned that off. I told you you cannot turn it off. There is no way to turn off location tracking by Apple and Google on any phone they sell you. There is no way. It's not an option. Okay, I'm going to put an ad out because YouTube says put an ad. Okay, I put an ad in, so some of you will see an ad. Okay, do you understand that? There is no way. So some of you are saying, well, I don't know if I have patience to learn what the Google phone is. Well, there's nothing to learn. The Google phone is just Android. How hard is it to figure Android out? It's like, there are only two kinds of phones nowadays. It's Android or iOS. So half of you are already using Android, in which case there's no difference other than the fact that you can't load any Google app on it. Nothing Google. Okay. Now let me talk about something else here before I run out of time. And I kind of got distracted with that, with some of your comments, and I haven't continued what I was talking about, with the BlackRock and such. So this person who was complaining about my supposed association with BlackRock and Vanguard, which I tell you is a kind of a ludicrous kind of analysis, extremely. It's nonsensical in a way. It's like, it's like a criminal walked into this house and I walked into the same house, therefore I must be a criminal. Something completely unrelated. That I have nothing connected to. But I want to talk about Brax OS, which is, as you know, coming from LunarOS. Okay, because what some of the comments was, who are these people in the Good Phone Foundation? Okay, so the Good Phone Foundation, I don't have the website up here right this moment, so you can look at it later. Yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can bring it up here, but if I can't, then you can look at it later on. Okay, so the Good Phone Foundation is founded by Dominic Gingras. Okay, Dominic is the head of Lunar, the Good Phone Foundation project. Dominic is my development partner for the Brax 2 phone, and they have a lot of skills in doing some of this. That's why I partner with them. In case you did not know this, the Dominic's work was used, for example, at one point in the Black phone. So if you've ever heard of the Black phone doesn't sell phones anymore, but when it did, they were selling an earlier version of this. Okay, so the same people who do the Black phone is the same one doing the Good Phone Foundation and Brax OS. Okay, so in case you didn't know that, so Dominic Gingras is from Canada. So he's Canadian, and I don't know if you know this, but many of the operating systems in the custom ROM market are also from Canada. They actually all know each other. So Dominic obviously knows the players from Copperhead OS, and you already know the operating system that was made by stealing Copperhead OS and making that new OS that you're all so proud of by the guy who stole it from Copperhead OS. I've talked to the guy originally owning Copperhead OS. So one of his employees started, a new OS by stealing what wasn't his, and came up with what you know now as the most toxic people on the internet when in relation to privacy. So if you wonder what I'm talking about, all you have to go do is go to people with that OS, and they're going to speak negatively about me all day, while Dominic Gingras and I talk about what they're doing and how they're so misguided. So we don't actually know. I mean, between Dominic and I talking about it, we don't know what actually drives the people from the GOS. We don't know, because are they really cybersecurity or privacy? They're not being. Some of the stuff that they tout as their main point really have to do with cybersecurity, so called. We don't actually necessarily subscribe to their arguments. They think it's important. Dominic and I, we obviously understand the source code, and we're looking at it, and we're like, we remain unconvinced. But the whole point is that it's really nothing focused specifically on privacy itself. And we don't need to restrict Brax OS in that way, because if you understand the point of Brax OS, which is to hide your identity, we don't need to be restrictive with the phone. We don't have to say you can't load this, you can't load that, you can't load Aurora Store, you can't load any kind of Google app, and we need to put it into some artificial what do they call it? A sandbox. I mean, you don't need the sandbox because you just set the permissions on there. Apps do not have access. It's part of Android already. Apps do not have access to IMEIs and all that. So, so some stuff that is being done that just sounds good. What actually all they did was duplicate what MicroG is doing, and it sounds so good. It's sandbox. Yeah, basically, they copied MicroG. They start, because people were saying, well, I can't do much to my GOS phone. I can't run regular apps. Okay, we'll give you a solution, but they don't want to install MicroG, so they came up with their own. Well, we don't have a problem with MicroG. MicroG is part of the OS install. It's built into the thing. MicroG was given funding by Futo. So if you heard of Futo, it's some multimillionaire or billionaire or whatever he is, has been supporting OSs and private phones, privacy-based phone systems, and they supported MicroG. I'm a supporter of MicroG. MicroG is pretty cool. Allows us to run Google apps, and makes the apps think that they're connected to Google when they're actually not connected to Google. They're just connected to MicroG. So we don't actually send a telemetry to Google, but apps don't know that, so they think they're connected to Google. And the way it works is you substitute the Google modules with a MicroG version of it. Okay? So anyway, so Brax OS, which is, the basis for the Brax phone. So Brax phone uses Brax OS. And we're in the next version now of this. This is now version 5.0.1. And Brax OS is a fork of LunarOS. And LunarOS is from the Good Phone Foundation. And it's open source. So let me put the open source link. I did not do that now, but at the end of later tonight when the video ends, I'm going to post the open source link to LunarOS, because I'm not sure it's posted yet on the website. So you can see it actually is open source. So the only difference between LunarOS and Brax OS is just the graphics. the everything else is actually LunarOS. So it's just the graphics. BraxOS has the BraxOS logo, and our apps are also open source. So the basic apps used on BraxOS is made by Simple apps, Simple Mobile. Okay, simplemobile.com. Its name is Tibor, and you can download Simple apps yourself. But Simple Apps is also associated with the Good Found Foundation, and you can see that he's actually part of the project. So I just want to make sure that you're clear with this. Now, the idea of the Open Phone, the Good Found Foundation, is to eventually have, other people use the builds from this to modify AOSP to run on your own devices. So at some point, have you signed an NDA? No. So it's open source. There's no NDA. It's just, it's already open. So BraxOS doesn't have much difference from LunarOS. So it's based on the same stuff. Okay, and actually the Good Phone people are the ones that build BraxOS for me. I don't actually. I'm not the programmer of it, although I'm a programmer. But I'll leave it to my development partners. So anyway, so the Good Phone Foundation, is hopefully going to spread to other phones, and obviously for newer models of this phone, the current BraxOS. So this is, by the way, a large size phone. It's XL sized. So the Pixel 5, for example, is a little smaller. Pixel 4a is smaller. So this is a XL, so it's similar to a Pixel 4 XL or 4a 5G, a larger phone. Okay. So anyway, so somebody make that statement to me that, hey, you're associated with all these weirdos in the Good Phone Foundation, because they looked at the people in the foundation and looked at the technical advisors. So Dominic Gingras is the founder of the Good Phone Foundation, and he's my development partner. And as I told you, he's from Canada. So just like the other OSs that you're all familiar with, they're all from the same group of people. So they actually all, I don't know what it is that suddenly, we have the GOS and other things coming out, Copperhead OS, the LunarOS, all coming from a community in Canada. So it's like, what the heck, do they like share secrets in there, and then they all figured out how to do degoogling, and then they all spawn an industry. So yes, so they spawn an industry in from degoogling, and really it's it's much the same people who are involved with this. So there are advisors to the Good Phone Foundation, and you can look at the list of technical advisors, and you can see names like Dr. Marwan Al-Zaruni. Now, I haven't met these people or talked to them, just because they're technical advisors. My only contact has been Dominic. So, and I'm listed here, and then we have Alexis Gingras here, network vulnerability, cybersecurity, and then we get Chris Kaspar, digital well-being, data privacy, and some of that relates to children having access to devices, how we are, it's not just about the privacy side. So what happened was the Good Found Foundation is basically people who can give advice on different aspects of the phone OS. Some are talking about cybersecurity side. I talk about the privacy side. Some are talking about how the phone is used, for example, by kids, in a family-oriented situation, how the dependence on phones. So each advisor, gives advice on different topics. So I'm, the primary one focused on the privacy side. Okay, so no, I haven't talked to any of the other advisors in Good Phone Foundation. I'm not associated with them, but my specialty is to, talk about privacy from the phone side. And I've already explained why in my last video, why the phone is 90% of the threat, and our tracking is actually, because you have the wrong phone. So that's my focus. That's what I talk about. That's what I explain, and the danger of that, with this. So that is my expertise. Now, you don't need to connect me with any of the other people in here, because they're there for whatever specialty they're offering. They have specialties in whatever field they're listed in, and that's their specialty. My connection is with Dominic himself. Okay, so just so you understand that, the programmers involved in LunarOS happen to be from the EU. They're from various places in Eastern Europe. So they are the ones currently doing the programming, and they're in different parts of Eastern Europe. I'm not sure where everyone is. Some at some point somewhere in Ukraine, actually. No one from Russia, but they're all from various places in Europe, all from the EU. So okay, so just so you know the background here, because I'm not hiding anything here. I'm just making sure that you all understand where we all stand. Now, aside from the people who are actually the technical advisors, there are other people that are involved to provide input on the product, and some of them have to do with, again, the family aspect with kids and so on, and and using a phone in a safe way, and not having us rely on the phone. And they're in the category here called community program leads. Again, I do not have any contact with any of these people, but they provide advice on aspects of the phone that is important to the project, to make sure that the project considers their side of the coin. And that's really the point, that the Good Phone Foundation OS is made to consider all the aspects of phone use. Sometimes it's used for children, sometimes it's used for business, sometimes it's used for things that require special security, like in a secure corporate environment. So many people provide different kinds of advice for all that. I am specifically focused on the privacy side for the normal folk, and that's what I talk about on YouTube, and that's why I'm an advisor and have partnered with them to build the Brax OS. So at the moment, Brax OS only runs on a Brax 2 phone. We don't have the resources to build Brax OS for other OSs like a Pixel. So yeah, maybe that will change when somebody takes that source code and actually starts implementing on a Pixel. So I'll be providing a different option. But at the moment, there's no volunteers for that. May I ask what certifications it has? You mean the phone? It has CE for Europe, FCC for the US. Yeah, so it has the standard certifications. Am I prepared for an EMP? I have a video on EMP. You can go watch that. Actually, your phone might survive. Maybe not the phone networks, but the phone itself might survive. Crimea River. That's funny. That is funny. As a jazz musician, that's even funnier because, it's one of the tunes that we would play, Crimea River. So, LunarOS from Turkey. No, LunarOS is not from Turkey. Again, just to make it clear, LunarOS is founded by Dominic Gingras, who's a citizen of Canada. Is IT a good career? IT is an excellent career. It probably pays more than any other career. You have too many questions, okay? Okay, so as I said, many of the developers, some of the developers are remote, and they're spread, in Eastern Europe, like Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine. I don't know exactly who's who that does what, but some of them have moved as well. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So, I mean, there's no mystery here. I mean, the names are there, and you can go check them out. But, the one leading all this is Dominic. And the reason that, I partner with Dominic is we think the same way. We actually, we have an understanding of all the different OSs out there. He and I have a understanding of what is offered by the OS, starting with a G, that continues to attack me, the people there, because they're weird. They just attack me because they're weird. Some of them go to Brax me and just start attacking. They're like, I would really waste my time on them. So no, there's no point wasting my time on any of them. They're not worth listening to. The main guy for this OS started attacking me on Twitter. It's like I attacked him back. He probably deleted my tweet because I didn't see any response. So I'm not going to go waste my time on them. They hardly have any presence. So no, I don't. Though you may want to use their OS, I don't particularly see any particular advantage to it. Especially if the community is so toxic. Why would you hang out with people with such evil thoughts? I mean, all they have, they actually have nothing to do but criticize somebody like me. And guess why they criticize me? Because they attacked me from the very beginning, and therefore I don't publicly support or push their product. They're angry about that because I don't push them. Actually, you don't say anything. I mean, you can use them or not use them. It's to Google, so it's okay with me. However, I do not like that community, so I will not push it because it's a bad community. Bad community. I don't know why you want to associate yourself with a bad community. They're bad. All they do is attack people. They just, that's what they do. I don't see that happening with, an OS like Calyx OS. They seem okay. I mean, they're not attacking anyone. I like that. Nothing wrong with Calyx. I use Calyx. So, if you want me to install Calyx on, when you do give us the Google phone or buy one of the Google phones, you can request that you put Calyx on there. Or any other operating system you care about. However, I don't really recommend that you go for some OS that has these like unusual claims about how they're so much better. Because I don't believe that. They're not. There's nothing special. A lot of the stuff that they claim are standard features of Android. They're standard features, and they make claims that are like, "Oh, we're gonna do this." We changed the memory allocation, this and that. It's like, we who understand what's being talked about, and I'm a C programmer, I mean, I understand memory allocation pretty well. And I was like, what threat are you actually trying to defend with that? if that threat is so important, why hasn't Google taken your code and put it in AOSP? Why haven't you submitted your code to AOSP? Maybe they have. Maybe they got rejected by AOSP. Maybe you think of yourself as being so important, and then the people at AOSP said it's not that important. And this is from a cybersecurity point of view. So anyway. So you're only able to type that, Andrew, because you misspelled it. Otherwise, I block that here. I don't allow you to say that here, because I don't want any negativity here. Negativity. We don't want any negativity. So if you want negative, community, yeah, go ahead. Not going to support it. It's okay. You can use it. Nothing special. Nothing special. Okay? For privacy, nothing special. So, anyway. Silent link eSIM. Some of these, we don't have much time, so I'm going to talk about that as fast as I can. Yeah. There are SIM options where you use voice over IP only. Like, let's say you're going to use their product, which is, offered, for example, by Volta Wireless, or use some, community product like, some commercial product like Viber, which does the same thing, voice over IP. Now, what is the significance of that? If you use voice over IP, you can use a data-only SIM. Now, the thing about a data-only SIM is it cuts out the voice side where all the hacking can occur, because all the hacking on the phone actually occurs in the baseband modem on the voice side, where they split off into internet and then SS7, and it's the SS7 side that is interceptable with Stingray and all that. You can't really intercept data if it's encrypted. Let's say if you use a VPN, the data side, you can't really see anything there. So if you use a VPN, then you're pretty safe on the data side. If you use voice over IP, many voice over IP are already encrypted as well. So that's a safe option. If it's practical for you, you can use a voice over IP product and use one of these SIMs that are data only. I do not recommend Volta Wireless. They have very bad tech support. They have very bad support in general. They probably won't give you a refund. I've heard so many bad news about them, so don't recommend that. But you can use any kind of data plan. A lot of plans come from the EU. What they do is sell you a roaming SIM card. And when you roam, then you're data only. It's a data only roaming SIM card. And then you pay for it in the EU, and then you use that here. The problem with some of them is they may not all work. It depends on where you are. Depends if they have a roaming contract with every carrier and so on. So let's say they only have a roaming contract with T-Mobile, and your area does not have too much on T-Mobile, then it may not work too well. So it's not certain. If you want to be certain, you can use a data plan with a local carrier. It's more expensive, but it's much more. It has faster speeds. For example, you can use T-Mobile data plan only. Now, they may not give you a data plan unless you have a data only device like an iPad. So go find some iPad IMEI and use that. Go borrow somebody's iPad and take a look at the IMEI, record it, and then say, I want to sign up for data only. I happen to have a data only Wi-Fi card device, which I have discussed in one of my videos, and that allows me to buy data only SIM cards. Okay, so I don't have any more time. So anyway, we'll push off some questions to next week. So some of you are enjoying the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, and whatever other holidays are important to you. I celebrate Christmas, so for those who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. For those who celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. And don't know, so I'm still back. I mean, I'm going to be doing videos all through the holidays here. Nothing has changed. Okay. Thank you, Davey85. Thank you. Okay, guys. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you in the next live stream and the next video. Bye-bye. Hold on.